Present is Selectman Tropiano, Selectman Slavin, Selectman Titlebaum, and Council Richard Bowen.
Okay, Pledge of Allegiance.
Undo it.
Yeah, you can lead us in the pledge. Put you on the spot. It's only gonna cost you $600.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Exactly.
No free rides.
Next up, announcements. Selectman Tropiano?
Good question. Oh, I could do it during liaison, but maybe not. So the 20th is going to be the day we meet with onset for the thing. I know Alan's not going to be here, but it's going to be, there'll be more than just one meeting. So I think this is kind of the kind of get-together kind of thing. I think Peter said it'd sell for you, with your permission.
No, it's all fine, because we need to get this done.
Yeah, and we'll get it started,
Yep.
and then, we can go on from there, because I'm sure we're gonna have to put something together, they'll put something together, you know how it'll go.
Yep.
So, and then when you come back, we'll catch you up, and we'll keep moving forward, okay?
Okay.
Works for me.
All right?
Anything
That's it.
else?
That's it for now.
I'd like to thank everybody at the Christmas parade. When I got back out the next day, the streets were clean. I don't know who did it, but there was no paper, there was nothing everywhere, which is really neat. Patrick and I tried to keep up with with Joe Leggett in the car. It didn't work well for Alan anyways. We had a full trunk of candy, and we used every last piece of it. It was fun. Everybody was happy. We had nobody screaming and yelling at us. I do thank
Parade went
everybody.
great.
Also, on a sad note, we did lose a person from the onset area. I don't know exactly, we haven't officially been told what it is. I have an idea what it is, but I'm not going to get into it. But again, it's a sad state that we keep losing people. And I have a notice from the Priscilla Porter, from the president of Friends of the Wareham Free Library. Just thanking people for that event. And then from the police department, we'll be having a partnership with Target, Walmart, will hold its annual Stuff a Cruiser Toy Drive. This event will be at the Wareham store locations for Target and Walmart on Saturday, December 16th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Collected toys will be turned over to Turning Point and Cape Cod Child Development, Inc. for distribution to children in need throughout the Wareham and surrounding areas. Please bring a new, unopened, unwrapped toy to stuff in the cruisers parked at Target and Walmart, and say hello to the officers in the department while helping deserving children this season. Again, also, do me a favor, thank the officers for what they do. Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
I don't have any. Next up, citizens' participation. Anybody like to speak to the board tonight? Well, seeing none. We don't have any appointments, reappointments, or interviews. We're going to skip over licenses and permits because this is our annual renewals, and people don't need to sit and wait while we wade through that. We'll skip down to topic 8, town business, and start with subject 8A, vote on the approval of Cahoon Street improvements at Bay Point. Is there anybody here who'd like to speak to that? Seeing none.
I'll make a motion that we approve the street improvements at the Bay Point Club per the site plan, which is sitting here on the desk, which has been before the planning board. I've gone through it, Patrick's gone through it, we have no issues at all.
Second.
Okay. Motion for approval of improvements by Clerk Slavin, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, passes 5-0-0. 3-0-0, sorry about that. We only have 3 present, can't have 5 votes. So used to seeing 5-0-0 here. We're going to skip over, actually, why don't we just do B so I don't get out of order here. Last week, Selectman Tropiano did raise a point about voting on a significant expenditure of funds for the Wareham Village Slums and Blight Study, so I put it back on just to confirm our vote last week. So if we could have a motion to confirm that vote.
Motion to confirm.
Second.
Motion to confirm by Selectman Tropiano, seconded by Clerk Slavin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 3-0-0. And that takes care of that. Next up, discussion with the Municipal Maintenance Director and Open Space Committee regarding maintenance of playgrounds and recreational areas. So if you folks will all come up.
You're the next contestant.
You can say this if you like. Oh, you already signed it? Oh.
I was gonna say, I think I already took care of that, but.
Hello.
So at long last, we're gathered here just to sort of generally discuss the idea of what it is that we're looking for playgrounds, other open spaces in town that need to be maintained, and so on and so forth. It's sort of the wish list versus the reality of what we can keep up with. So this was a topic that the board has sort of thought about, we talked about, but we've never put it together and actually gotten it as an agenda item to go forward on. By way of introduction, I did receive an email from Selectman Whiteside, who couldn't attend tonight. In that email, she wanted us to not only discuss playgrounds, but she did want us to discuss the other municipally owned spaces in town, such as, the minor forest, the various recreational areas, and so on and so forth. She wanted to raise the point that occasionally those areas require the use of town assets to maintain, clean up. For example, if somebody dumps a refrigerator in minor forest, guess who gets to go get it? It's the municipal maintenance department. So even though these may be passive recreation areas, they still occasionally require the use of public employees to remove stuff, to clean stuff up, and so on and so forth. One of the things we've seen pop up in recent years is an interest in redoing playgrounds. So far, we've spent money on Oakdale, Swiss Beach, most recently the Lukey Playground, and we've got a project in onset for Lopes Playground going on as well. And I guess what we have is an open space plan that talks about 21 playgrounds and a couple of other recreational areas. What we have is a municipal maintenance department that doesn't even have 21 employees. So I guess the idea now is just to begin the process of figuring out what it is that we want, what it is that we can maintain, what's going to go in the master plan, and what we should do going forward. So this is just introductory in that sense. There's going to be no hard numbers discussed tonight or anything like that. And with that in mind, I guess I would ask the municipal maintenance director to talk about what he has to do in order to keep what we have active now up to par.
Well, thanks for inviting me tonight. For what we're doing now is very little as far, they're run down. We're keeping the grass mowed and stuff like that in these parks, but, with a really small, limited amount of staff, it's hard to maintain. And actually, the budget part of it, too, is we're actually using our funds for more safety issues, the catch basins that are collapsing and that type of thing. So, it's great to see the new playgrounds in here. It's just, if part of this plan that they plan on, maintaining this in the future, that's what our department would be looking for, some kind of funding for it, or, adding personnel for it. I'm all for having the playgrounds. It's just, it's not feasible for our department to do it at this time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why we're here, and I wanted to hear from you guys because, I remember I built a Leathers playground way back when in Bellingham, many years ago. And of course, it came along with the caveat that it was going to be maintained by an organization and the whole thing. And of course, the organization lasts, 5, 6, 10 years, they fall apart. And then the items fall apart. They just don't get maintained. And it's not just us, it's everybody who has these issues. So what we have to do is pick what we want to take care of, figure out what it's going to cost, and come up with some numbers so that we can move those things into the master plan and say, okay, this is what we've decided on. And I don't see how we can do it any other way and get them taken care of, because they're just going to turn into, blight, I guess is the word, if we don't maintain them. And it's a shame to spend the money and not be able to take care of them. So we really need to start talking about this. And this is sort of the beginning of that conversation, I believe, is it not?
Yep. Okay. Absolutely.
The problem that we have, which is everywhere really, and if you study history, it just keeps coming back and back, is that you have a wish list, dream list, that we've used recently as words, about what you'd like to do. But you have to really be realistic to see what you can do. And we can't physically maintain a whole bunch of places, because when you don't maintain them, they do fall in disrepair, and they also get vandalized because nobody's around. The Lukey playground that we just did, there are people coming from different areas of Wareham to use that playground, which is great. But we can't have, I think there's, ask Sandy, I think there's 13 or 14 playgrounds we have on the list. It's physically impossible. I remember, and I'll do this very quickly, I was on the Marine, basically, you know, the Division of Marine Fisheries on their commission for the state. And we used to, every 2 weeks, we'd have a meeting and would pass new laws and regulations for commercial and recreational fishing, which was wonderful. One day I asked the captain of the environmental police, says, we just passed 3 regulations, so which one you should have no problem enforcing? He said, Alan, it's not a problem. Just tell me which 3 you don't want me to enforce, because we don't have the staff to do what we have. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to basically take a glass that we have with a limited amount of dollars inside it and then stuff all these things in to do, and we can't. So I think it's incumbent upon the Open Space Committee, the Board of Selectmen, and the Municipal Maintenance Director with the Town Administrator to come up with a plan that goes to the master plan, as Patrick mentions, of things we can actually do and succeed with. Because if we end up trying to, you know, redo 13 playgrounds, we're probably going to end up with 5 or 6 of them within 5 years just falling apart. And the town of Wareham right now financially cannot make mistakes because we don't have the money to fix the mistakes. So if we're going to do something, we really need to do it right. That's it.
I think going back to the 2013 or 2014 playground study, was it? And I think there was a community preservation allocation to go around and study the playgrounds and make recommendations. If I remember correctly, there were 21 playgrounds identified, and then there were 2 additional open space areas. And I think the total cost for redoing those playgrounds, which may have been very conservative, was over $1 million. Because I remember when it was presented here, there was a former selectman who balked at that and said, oh my God, you know, how are you going to spend $1 million? And I think it was pretty obvious that that was maybe a 10-year or even a 20-year plan at best.
Yeah, that number 21 came from the 13 town plus the school. So
Okay.
the study covered all playgrounds, including the ones at the school and Oak Grove, and so it's all of them. And Fest, yes, and
Okay.
so that's why you're hearing 13 versus 21, because we're focusing on the ones that are not under the school.
Okay, thanks for that clarification, because I just remembered that number was sticking in my head, so.
Yes, it was 21.
So thanks for that. I don't recall hearing from the town administrator that Open Space has any requests or plans to make any requests for playgrounds for the upcoming town meeting. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
We've got work to do for Bryant Farm. We have work to do at Swiss Beach. We'd like to see them completed before we step forward, but one of our primary focuses is getting rid of the wooden structures that exist in our playgrounds today. They've got to go. And replacing them is something else, but the wooden items must be removed, and they're at, where are they? They're at Shangri-La, they're at Swiss Beach, they're at
Shawnee?
the one in Indian Mound.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, so looking from a safety point of view, those wooden structures are well past their age limit, and they're more dangerous than anything else. But we would work with maintenance to identify which ones to handle first. But we do have some CPA funds that were set aside for safety concerns, so those funds could be used to help remove those bad wooden structures.
Okay, so that money's already been appropriated and is sitting in the
CPA,
fund?
yes,
in a CPA fund, but already allocated?
for safety concerns.
Okay.
Safety issues, and to me, the wooden
That's good
structures
news.
make a very strong safety concern. I'd like to say goodbye to everything out there that's wood.
Okay.
And never do that again.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Now,
No, that
what
actually is
about,
good
like
news.
Lopes, where it's all wood structure?
Well, Lopes has its own plan for replacement,
Yeah.
and they upgraded it, and they painted it, and eventually it will be gone when they get funds to redo the whole area. But to me, Shangri-La is the one that comes to first.
And the only
Oh,
reason that we haven't done anything with Shangri-La yet is, I mean, I went over and I took apart West Wareham Academy. I got rid of the boat that was over there. I do the same thing with Shangri-La, but there's been a lot of back and forth as to whether or not the residents will be okay with it versus not okay. And I'm not about to go over there and tarnish my own reputation just to.
Yeah. No, you're going to want to vote if somebody,
We also,
yeah.
as they are removed, would like to be able to say to the residents out there, if you would like to get together and come to open space and talk to us, maybe we can replace it at another location. It will never be put down in that bowl. It is out of sight, no one sees it. It collects water, and there's more needles and broken bottles there than there is stones. I mean, it's a horrible location.
Yeah, you don't want to encourage that as a gathering spot.
We will not support putting anything back in that location.
We might have an issue though there, right? Because when they did the plan up there, which was a plan of Bay State Realty Trust, I don't know if you remember, they included a bunch of recreation areas, including the playground, the what do you call it? There's, if you go down by the water, there's some recreation areas that haven't been used or opened up that I know of, but they're on the plan. And everybody is deeded those. Everybody has a piece of those. Did you know that? Yeah, it was
Now,
all
was that through a
incorporated and
homeowners
all
association?
accepted on town meeting floor as one big vote for the whole thing, yeah. They're all over the place up there. And there's been a few issues we had when they were trying to add some houses and things with roads that are there that aren't there and things of that nature that they had some issues with. But Shangri-La is kind of an unusual, the Lynn family, when they did that whole development up there, they kind of, they really wanted it to be kind of like a destination place. So they set aside a lot of recreation areas and stuff, including a fishing area and everything else. If you look at the plan, you'll see it. It's all on there. And they all have a piece of those as part of the original deeds. So it's a little more convoluted up there.
Yeah, we will not rebuild in that area. We will
Right.
look for
No,
another
that's good.
site.
That's-
Another site.
I get that.
That just,
Yeah, it's
No,
a very-
I know, look, these things are,
the baseball field doesn't work in there. There's a basketball court that seems to be usable, but that's about it down there.
right.
They do use it too. You see the new nets put up and stuff, so the people do use that
Yeah.
playground.
And the consensus as a committee would be, if I'm not speaking out of,
Oh, go ahead.
that's the only other area that there really should be a playground to support.
It is so
That-
far
yeah.
out away from all the others that are being worked on or
That's true.
developed. But Shangri-La is out on its own way and really needs its own local neighborhood.
If I can jump in, the one thing I think that we can commit to doing is probably working with Ken and doing, from a planning perspective, like what is the right metrics, right? So whether it's a distance or population served. So where I come from, I've only lived here 10 years, so I'm a newcomer to the town, right? But this is the first place I've seen where there's so many neighborhood parks and playgrounds, right? Compared to other communities that I've lived in. And so that makes us unique and great, but I don't know what the right answer is. Is it one per 500 children? Is it one per 1,000? Is it one in a 10-mile square block? So I think we need to just do a little bit of digging to figure out what maybe the right metrics are. Again, it may come back to be the dream list, and then we compare it to what we can do. Because I think otherwise, all these neighborhoods want their playground. No one's going to come back and say, no, I want you to take my playground and not do it. So how do we come up with a way that's fair and equitable? And maybe we should have done that before we've done some of these other ones, but how do we come up with that? I mean, I think we have a good story going that Lukey's on this side of town, Oakdale's in the center, Lopes is on that side of town. I think you're right about Shangri-La and its distance. But I wanted, so we have a criteria that we can share and be transparent with, is I think one of the first steps, if everyone agrees.
I think that sounds reasonable.
That is a good idea.
But I'd like to, at this point, list the 13, so there's no question as to which 13 we're looking at that exist today.
Yeah, why don't
We have
you?
Lopes, we have Indian Mound, we have Aruda on the other side of the library, we have Ellis down at Muddy Cove, we have the Hammond tennis courts, we have Carver, which has a tennis court and access to the river. Very bad access to the river, it's mostly a road. Lukey, Oakdale, the Onset Park, which is where next to the parking lot, which has the chess tables and bocce courts, though they would never be used for bocce courts. We have Shangri-La, we have Sylvester Courts and Playground. we noticed that this playground over here behind multi-service is now locked. Most people probably didn't even realize there was a playground in there. We have Westfield, which is used and maintained by the girls' softball, and then we have Swiss Beach. Those, to me, are the 13 existing playgrounds in the town. We have open space being Minot Forest, Bryant Farm, Westgate, the Hearn, which is the Blackmore Pond, Reariantic Ridge, I think it's called it, and we have property in Agawam that's been identified as a play area. And then you have some play area equipment that still exists on schools that are closed, being West Wareham, East Wareham, Everett, and Hammond School. So that is the basis we're looking at, but I just wanted to get the names out there so people are aware that we are aware, so to speak. But Minot is a big issue. Right now, we cannot access the fire road off of Minot Ave because trees are down. And that area is used constantly by AmeriCare and Buzzards Bay Coalition to give the Minot school children a place to walk, and they can't because trees are down. But I don't know how to get maintenance. They don't have the manpower to get out there and remove all the trees that fall on every one of the trails that exist in Minot. So
Yep.
it just, I don't know how to balance. I don't know how to ask to have it balanced. But Minot needs some help.
Yeah, does anybody have any other ideas? I mean, have you guys thought about this at all?
Hire more people. I mean, I could tell why that playground got locked is because a child got actually hurt on broken equipment. So we ended up, trying to remove some of that stuff, and there was only a couple little pieces left. So it was like, let's lock this and, keep them out of there for now.
I would say that's one we close. Remove all the equipment from it, because that area is used for basketball. That's, make sure we bring in maybe a couple more picnic tables around the basketball courts and stuff, and totally remove the fence and all the equipment at Sylvester. I mean, it's really in bad shape.
Now, can I ask a question? When a new housing development comes in, like the one over on near Home Depot, the newest one, they have a small playground in there. Is that something that we recommend as a town to any development meeting a certain size?
Planning board.
It would actually go into the master plan of what you're looking for new developments.
Okay.
The planning board or the ZBA, depending which way the particular, project falls in which group, they can ask for those things. They ask for, common space, for recreational area, walking trails, et cetera.
Well, I know some put them in themselves.
Yeah, but you've got to be a little more forceful
Yeah.
from the town side, saying, but the important piece is that it becomes part of the master plan, so people know it's there. If you look at our zoning bylaws, as far as construction things, we really don't have design criteria that are really firmly set for a lot of commercial buildings. And also you have for subdivisions, you have basics, but it's really pick and choose when the developer comes in as to how far they'll go. I know the planning board is looking at really pushing up the design criteria, the shrubbery, the landscaping, et cetera. These are all things I know that we're looking at real seriously. Because if you look at a lot of the commercial buildings, they're basically like Morton steel buildings up there, because we don't have anything that says you shouldn't be doing this, you should be doing that. And it's very hard to sit there when a developer comes in and says, we want this. Well, your zoning bylaws doesn't say that. That's what this is all is about.
I would say that the only project I can think of that's even out there, and my position is it's not before us at present, that would warrant pushing for a playground is not a project that this board has found desirable on 2 separate occasions so far. So that's enough to be said about that. But something of that size and scope, I think that's something that certainly you'd want to push for, especially if it required a comprehensive permit.
Well, if you look at like Makepeace, and you go out to Honut Road and stuff and look at the couple housing developments, every one of those developments out there that they have, they've put, recreational space. They have walking trails. They have, like, how you can bicycle there. They designed it what we call complete streets. they're clean, they're safe, and they have areas where there's ponds where you can go fishing, et cetera.
Which they take care of.
And
Yes.
it's part of the development, it's in the deeds for the homeowners association and everything else. So, I mean, it can be done, but, you can't depend on having a developer that's willing to spend the extra money to do this, because, again, a lot of times it's the bottom line, and that's what you get. So that's part of the reason for having a master plan that kicks things up with a zoning set of bylaws that it reinforces it. But I just want to go back to the one point I want to make sure is that whatever we do really has to be something that's sustainable. I don't want to sit there and build things and see people, not use them. So when you pick something, you've got to make sure that the population base, there are enough kids in the area or grandparents that have kids there that will keep the thing being used. Because if it's not going to be used, it's going to fall apart.
Well, but the problem you have is that there may not be any kids today, but 2 years from now, there might be a lot of kids, you know what I mean? It's so moving, it's like a moving target. And of course, Shangri-La is one of those areas that is very revolving. There's a lot of families move in and out all the time. And so it's one of those places where you're apt to have a lot of kids, I would guess.
But
And
you
it's
got a
important that the
population base
neighbors
too, though.
take an
Sorry.
ownership in it. They're watching it. They're be aware of what is happening and report if there's an issue. But to be honest with you, Oakdale and Lukey would not have happened if the neighborhood had not stepped up and helped with those projects, especially Lukey. Amanda and Renee did an unbelievable job. They're doing an unbelievable job to make Lukey. She says, I couldn't take my child to that playground that existed. It was nothing but splinters. And Oakdale stepped up first by cutting back all their vines and picking up the leaves
Over
and
there for
painting their pavilion. That showed that they wanted something in their neighborhood. So it's the neighborhood determines which is our next project. We want the people to step up, because it can't be done by town people alone. It has to be done by the neighborhood.
I think that she's absolutely right. Volunteers are key to all of these kinds of things. And I don't want to sort of dump on the volunteers that are already there, because, we can only give them, congratulations for everything that they've done. And I've been involved in a few of them. But more people have to step up. It seems that it's always a certain few or a certain number. There's a whole big neighborhood. There's, 600 houses, and there's 5 people that step up to do the work. And, it's I don't know how you get the rest of the people, because you realize that if you could just get a third of the people or a quarter or an eighth of the people to show up, it gets done like this. It's like a no problem,
Where are we going from here?
I think from here, we've got to develop the information.
Yeah.
I mean, I think too, they should be looking at, as far as for all age groups too. I know that like that, you're looking at the basketball courts, but, most of the stuff, like even Oakdale's more, for the younger generation a lot, no swing sets type of thing, for the teenage type kids and things of that nature, if you're gonna
It was
go
built
this
for,
route.
yeah, built for a specific age group. Lukey has, how many, two or three age groups in Lukey?
So Lukey was definitely, when we talked about what Lukey was, we changed it, right, from being a playground to a community park, and our goal was to service from 2 to 100, right? And so we have a playground structure that serves 2 to 5, which is something that was lacking in the whole Wareham community, that we didn't have something for the younger kids, my daughter being one of those at the time, that we didn't have a place to go. We had, I was selfish, we have a playground equipment for 5 to 12. We have the basketball courts, which we think are more to the teenage. And then the goal is to have that walking path that actually can meet the multi-generational need as well.
The double wide swing.
Oh, and we do have an adult double wide swing. Thank you for your porch swing. So we have an adult swing to watch the children. So we did try to actually meet for that need, right? We tried to change the purpose of that one, which is a little different than what ended up happening at Oakdale and its needs. But I think one of the things, if I can say, is one of the things, Dave, is that working more closely, I think, with you and your team. I mean, your guys have been great at Lukey, and I can't complain, but they've been awesome. So, but working with you in a planning sense of, what can the town help us with? You have way more insight and experience than any of us ever do on when it comes to these building things. Making sure, because even for me at Lukey, I think you being more upfront in the beginning of these processes will help us make sure we meet your needs, right?
Actually, even, like when they did these playgrounds, they left all the cardboard and all the stuff behind where, we could have had a dumpster drop there. Instead of using all my manpower, they could have thrown it right in a dumpster, and it would have been easier. an easier load on the department versus, these are the types of things that we gotta kind of discuss before they just go in and.
Absolutely. I mean, we ran into water issues and all kinds
Yeah,
of strange
yeah,
things that we
yeah.
can't anticipate, right? And so
Yeah.
I think as we go through this needs to be not just community members driving things,
Yep.
not just open spaces. It definitely, we need to be sure, and Derek's been great, but we need to be sure we're all sitting at the table as we plan, and that we actually think not just the build, but then into maintenance and what that comes,
Yeah,
right?
What it looks like, yeah.
What it looks like.
Make the whole
What type
process
of
a little more
materials?
cohesive.
It would, as opposed to, it does continue to feel like we're just hitting things once in, at each other in emails, long email chains, right?
Yeah.
The people for the land trust, I think, wants to speak. If you
Yeah,
would.
that's fine.
But I think
Come on up, Nancy.
whenever possible, we should use Lukey as a,
Example.
sort of a footprint of what it should be, just for the sake of keeping somebody involved for as long as you possibly can to have eyes on it, as long as you can.
That's right.
You just pull the microphone towards you, please.
Yeah, that way it'll get picked up on the,
Hi,
Broadcast.
I'm Nancy McHale. I'm treasurer of the Wareham Land Trust, and I'm throwing out an idea here that has not been vetted through the board. But hearing some of the concerns, especially about downed trees at Minot, that's something that the Land Trust could likely help you folks with in terms of getting a work crew out there, being able to get some volunteers to help with some chainsaws, just to get those out. We totally understand the value of having those trails open for everyone. We've been very successful, as Sandy said, about getting the Minot Forest school children out there with the help of our interns from the Coalition of Buzzards Bay. So those are the sorts of things that you can, reach out to us on a regular basis,
That's
and we'll
great.
see what we can
Great.
do about doing a volunteer day and getting folks out to help.
That'd be great.
yeah, and actually, Mrs. Slavin, of course, is on the Minot Forest Committee, so there's a perfect tie-in. I think you found the right person to talk to.
But yeah, just don't negate the being able to reach across the board and say, okay, this is a town, this is a land trust, this is a open space. We all need to work together on all of this
Mhm.
stuff,
Okay, well, thank you.
okay?
Very much
Thank
Would you let the
appreciated.
record show that Tony came in at 7:32, please?
Yep. Thank you very much. Well, I guess the next steps are to let the town planner know that there is going to be some input in this regard into the master plan, and then perhaps set something up
February,
to meet with him.
February.
Well, the
Yeah, there's a
open-
February deadline for getting the
Open
master
Space
plan
has
done.
already submitted their input into Ken for the open space plan, so that's already been done. So he has our feedback.
Yep. I believe the master plan, we're supposed to get it done by mid-February or something like that, because we're getting aid from Serpent to help in that process, and that aid goes away in February, so that's kind of our imposed deadline. We can always revisit anything that any board has submitted before the deadline, so that's not a problem.
Yep. And the open space plan virtually is done, waiting for state approval,
Yep.
review,
Right.
and then final approval.
Mhm.
But the open space plan is, for all intents and purposes, just waiting on the state to respond.
How's the grammar status?
It's been given to the editor.
Okay. No one
She
of our
has-
members had a
No,
great concern about that.
Our editor?
Nanette has all the
hope.
recommended changes. She has received them, so she has them for
Okay,
her.
thanks. Just being a little bit tongue-in-cheek there, but not entirely. Trying to protect you from the wrath.
It's been white-sided.
God, we've all been white-sided. I guess that's about really all we can talk about tonight, but thank you for coming. I think it's good to at least get the ideas out there, and, at least talk about the ideas of, what going forward you're gonna look for. And I guess February is our deadline to figure it all out, so.
Well, open space meets on the second Monday of a month at 6 o'clock in room 27 of the town hall. It is a public meeting, and anybody's willing to come, we will listen to them, but just put it out there.
Yep.
We are now at a full board of 7, which is a nice change from what it had been, so we don't have the quorum issues we used to have.
Do you want to temporarily put down for like the fourth Tuesday in January to have them come back? Or have a group, if there's anything new for us to talk about, schedule something at
We
that
won't
point?
have anything new to add. We're only meeting once in December, then January, so we really won't be any further along than we are now.
Why don't you contact us if you have something to talk about then?
Okay, if we
Yeah,
come out
and
of the January meeting with something we want to bring to you,
Because once we get into February and March, we're
yeah,
at town meeting.
that's
and-
another whole issues, but
Well, I know Amanda had talked about speaking with Ken, so maybe she could be your,
I
on
can
a-
reach out and see
yeah,
what we can.
exactly.
I mentioned, I think, to him when he came before, but I think, just from some knowledge I had to look up for parking lot issues, that there are things out there in communities that they sort of define. So I think we can just do a scan and see what we can, and see if we can come up with some metrics that we can start to define. And I think that works, Alan, to what you were saying about the developments and what they need. These are sort of design criteria for communities, right?
Yeah.
And so you start to say, how many types of things do you
yeah,
need?
if you take a look at the last housing development, what was that, Union Pond?
Yep.
Nothing was done in the way of recreation for the children or the people that are living there, and to me, that should not happen again. That should not happen again. We should really be looking at a small playground, but that doesn't, so much more could have been done to support the people that live there. And then 851, and then all the others that have come, and
Yeah,
Well, they're the ones making money off of it, not us, so.
right.
Makes sense.
it would probably be good that we ask Rich to look at the Shangri-La paperwork and stuff, because the town, was given land in lieu of, the taxes and everything, or the foreclosure.
if you could identify
And
some
see- And
locations,
see what actually,
Well,
what's in place and not in place anymore.
yeah.
one of the problems you have is that there's no provisions actually in the law that allows them to do that. So what happens is they ask them and say, we'd like to have some kind of recreation for the children of your development and so on and so forth. And they can ask, and sometimes they get it and sometimes they can't, but there's nothing we can force them to do.
But at least ask.
Although there is a way to create some
Open space.
bylaw or some open space regulation that would require it. We just have to decide that that's what we want to do, and we can do it.
Yeah, when you do clusters out there.
Right, exactly.
Or anything associated with a special permit could have it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, when you have a special permit,
We
it's a
would
little
appreciate-
easier to
yeah,
do.
We'd
Yeah.
appreciate some
Because
help.
you don't
with-
have to give out the special permit, so when
Right.
you ask for things, they're kind of, it's different than
Yeah, when
just
you're
a
dealing with an
regular
as of right.
subdivision,
Yeah, true.
Anything else?
Nope, I think I'm good.
Okay, well, thank you all for your time, and we'll...
Thank you.
So we'll allow Mr. Bowen to look at some locations that we might find for recreation possibilities in Shangri-La.
Yeah, so somebody's going to have to get him the original plan, though.
Get the plan, look at it, it's there.
Yeah.
They got a bunch of recreation areas up there that are set aside.
Okay, very good. Thank you all for your time tonight. Appreciate it.
David, thanks for taking time off. You appreciate it.
Okey-doke. Let's just do the town business, get through that portion, then we can go back and do these
We'll do
renewals
these,
for the
I
liquor.
think, last.
Hmm?
We'll do the liquor stuff last.
Yeah, exactly. We did that.
Extend the
Okay, the
contract.
Verizon contract, town's contract with Verizon to provide cable services, cable TV services, expires on December 20th. And so even though state law says that the contract continues if there isn't a new contract, I'd like to just extend it for another 90 days, just
Motion
because we
so
can do
made.
that.
Second.
Okay, motion to extend the Verizon contract for 90 days from December 20th to March 20th, I guess, 2018 by Clerk Slavin, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, it's 400. Now, also expiring on December 20th is the town's contract with Wareham Community Television to provide public educational and governmental programming, because their contract with us is tied into the Verizon contract expiring.
Right.
So again, I'd like to ask another 90 days there to keep that contract
So moved.
alive as well.
Second.
Motion by Selectman Tropiano, seconded by Clerk Slavin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 400, so that's all set. I did reach out to WCTV Director Jamie Rebhan today and talked with her a little bit about the contract. We had worked on it previously. So we'll get together and create proposals for each board to vote on, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, because it'll have to change a little bit based on the numbers from the new contracts.
Yeah, because they'll have to contain, the new contract will have expiration dates and so on and so
Right,
forth. There's a
exactly.
couple of, we've added a couple of new boards that they cover that we should probably memorialize in a new agreement. They've been willing to do so, but we should put them in there. And the other thing is, there's the issue of funds that they receive from us versus funds that they raise on their own and how those should be handled and appropriated. So there's just it's not much to be done. It's not a huge negotiation by any stretch. They've been very easy to work with, especially with the new board that they've had for the past few years. So it's been a pleasure for a change. Let's see. Next up, accept donation from Supermoon Records to the Wareham Free Library.
Make a motion that we accept the donation.
Second.
And the amount of?
In the amount of, I've got $612 here.
What he said.
Very nice.
I don't know who they are, unfortunately. Don't know who Supermoon Records are, but that's okay.
Well, maybe you should find out. Let's see. Motion by Clerk Slavin, seconded by which of you two?
Whoever.
Whoever.
Selectman Scasiotti, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, it's 400. We did have a folder with one item of 48-hour business.
Right here. There you go.
Yep. Okay, the Board of Health, I'll read it aloud. The Board of Health would like to, again this year, insert a rental registration notice reminder in with the tax bills. Notice would be the same as the previous years, except the date the payment
So
was
moved.
changed.
Second.
Okay, motion by Selectman Tropiano, seconded by Clerk Slavin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 400. I will notify the treasurer collector tomorrow that we did approve this, so that he can go ahead and stuff it in the tax bills. Saves the town a lot of money in postage doing it that way, and it's an allowable use of the tax bills. We're actually limited by state law as to what we can put in there. There's very few things, but this is one of the few things we can. Otherwise, we'd sell advertising with the darn things. Anybody else have any 48-hour business? Selectman Tropiano?
No.
Selectman Scasiotti?
No.
Clerk Slavin?
No.
I don't have anything either. We don't have a town administrator. We'll do the liaison reports now, if we have any.
Okay. So, I felt bad that we didn't get to go down to the vigil they had down on in Bessie Park. We missed it, and it's funny because I saw the flags as I came through coming to the meeting on Tuesday, right? And I saw them and I just figured, they would set their flags up there, because Melanie's pretty good at that. And then I didn't know anything about it. I didn't hear anything about it. I never got an invitation because I certainly would have gone. Everybody knows that I am big on that whole thing, and I feel bad that I didn't get down there. I just want everybody to know that it's something that I certainly would have attended without even thinking twice about it. This is a huge deal. We had somebody die again recently, and we've had others, and it's just so out of hand. And the frustrating part is, without money, there's not much you can do. And the state doesn't come through with any money. They put 50 beds in, then they cut it. Then the federal government, they send their representative here, and he says, oh, yeah, we're going to gung-ho. Well, how much money did you bring? None. I hate to say it, but if you can't bring any money, nothing's going to happen. And we can, make awareness, which we all do all the time. All of us are involved in keeping the awareness in everybody and trying to get everybody involved. But in order to really take the bull by the horns and get these people, even the program that we have with the other towns, the Chiefs program, when they get them, they got to have some place to put them.
Right.
in order to try and get them off the, whatever it is. So it's a really difficult situation. And I don't know that everybody's listening, because people are dying all across the country, yet nobody's coming up with anything. No money, no nothing. And we've got to have it. I mean, it's, the federal government, the state, they should be playing a big role in this. And it's just nothing. I mean, we don't have any money to do this. We're doing the best we can.
Right.
And it's not enough. I'll be the first one to admit, it's not enough. It's not even close to enough. These are kids.
Yeah, for the most part, it's young people.
For the most part, that's who it is. It's in that age bracket when they get out of school, and when they're out of high school, around, 19 or so, believe it or not, while they're in school, there's not too much problem. But when they get out of school, and then they're around for a while, and they have nothing to do, there's nothing going on, that's when it tends to happen. And so you get in that 20, 23, 24, 30, even up as high as 40, in that range. It's a disaster. But I don't know what we're going to do. I wish I had more answers. I wish I could just wave my magic wand and, we had beds for everybody, and we forced everybody into treatment and, did what we needed to do, because it is a treatment issue.
Yeah, and without a facility, without beds, without staff, you're not going to attack the problem. It's almost a problem. It's not quite on the scope of running a school system, but it's a multi-million-dollar problem for every single town in the state, and even larger in the cities, to try to attack this. I mean, the town can't afford to put up a 100-bed facility to treat all the people with addiction in Wareham, and we just don't have the resources. We never will. It needs to be a federal program, and you've got a Congress that wants to cut taxes rather than raise them, which opens up a whole separate political argument. But with that in mind, they're not going to be funding this.
I have 8 children, and every time somebody passes, it brings tears to my eyes. I mean, there's not much I can do, As much as I've been involved in stuff, and you go to this thing, and you do this, and you go here, and you go there, and you do all this, it's a lot of conversation, but nothing concrete, nothing we can touch and say, yeah, we did something. We saved some people today. It's sad.
Yeah. Alan?
Just a quick comment. About 90 days ago, the president actually declared kind of a war on the opiate abuse. And there was an article in the paper today, actually, about this actual thing, because they're talking about everything else going on. In that time frame, they're going to put all these assets, to try and solve it. And they made the statement that this really is a disease. It's being handled through the criminal courts and stuff, which is not the fix for it and everything else. And after 90 days, there's been no money of any kind been brought forth to help this. So at the end of the day, it's a lot of rhetoric, but there's no action, because like everything else in life, we need money to make things work. And there's nothing we can do, because if the federal government recognizes, said it's a nationwide epidemic, and yet provides no funding, it's just
hot air.
It's hot air. Not even hot air, it's just nothing.
And Ellen, it is that. But the other thing too is, nobody's holding the prescribers, and nobody's holding the drug companies accountable at all for any of this. They just come out with a new drug, and they advertise it on TV, and, okay, run to your doctor and tell them you want this stuff. I don't understand why we can't advertise alcohol on TV, but we can advertise all the drugs we want.
And all the side effects.
And and they got a list of side effects. Some of that stuff, I don't know why anybody says, yeah, I'll take that. Sudden death has been known to occur. Okay, give me some. I don't know. I mean, it seems kind of crazy. But the point is that nobody's holding these people to accountable. There's so much money from the drug companies into the lobbies and all that. See, they should shut them right down and say, okay, no more advertising drugs on TV. Because you know what? Your doctor should be the one who sits with you, talks to you, decides what you want to do, and then deals with it. Not, okay, I run into my doctor and say, hey, doc, I got to have some of this.
Well, good luck convincing the networks to give up the billions of dollars in revenues from the ads for these things.
Hey, you know what?
That's as addictive as the drugs are.
He's right, ad revenues.
It is addictive.
Did you notice that the majority of commercials on TV are drug commercials now?
Yeah.
Majority. I sat there, I watched, every show I watch, I pay attention to that. And it's the drug commercials are the majority every time.
Well, when you watch the national news at 6:30, it's funny, they must assume that nobody under the age of 50 watches these things because everything is for, older people and, diabetes and heart disease and, COPD and all the stuff that tends to afflict older people. So it's kind of interesting. They don't have car ads. They don't have, Stop and Shop's not on their advertising. It's just the drug companies sponsoring the news.
And the one that gets me the most, I'm sorry, but I seen another one, they changed it up a little bit, is the guys, a couple of guys, and they apparently take opioids as a matter of a course, like every day,
Constipation.
right? And they're having constipation. So they have another drug they can take to alleviate the constipation, right? But they're walking around like, virile and everything's terrific. I'm in great shape, right? Taking opioids. I don't know about you, but I've seen people on opioids. They don't walk around like that. They just don't.
Well, hence the
It looks good in
constipation.
the commercial, though.
Because they're not moving enough.
All right, whatever. I'm
Yeah,
sorry to get
yeah.
off on a tangent, but it's just sad, and I don't know what to do. I'm frustrated, as I'm sure all you guys are, and as all the people are. I mean, they're frustrated to see young children dying for no reason, other than we just not handling it right.
Accepted.
I'm all set.
Okay, let's see what we got for this past week. I attended a GATRA meeting on Wednesday. It's the annual meeting. It was interesting discussions about service. They're level funded, which is not a good thing, which means it's a little tight for them. We're still waiting on the bus station here in Wareham, and Mr. Sullivan is working with Frank Gay. Hopefully we'll have something eventually, but things are tight. The federal government's cut back a little bit. Their funding is a little less, so it could affect services. They, like everybody else, is getting hit with the OPEB liability, which is basically unfunded liabilities for health insurance and retirement, et cetera. And it basically takes a lot of small entities, municipalities as well, and takes their balance sheet and puts them underwater so they have a negative instead of a positive balance on their balance sheets, which is kind of scary because it kills your bond rating and everything else. So they're having to work with that. They've never put money aside for these particular liabilities. And in 2019, every organization that's involved with municipalities, government, et cetera, has to now recognize these liabilities. And so I made some recommendations at the meeting about a couple different organizations that I work with that actually has certain companies they use just to give them an idea where to go. So that's going to happen there. Plymouth County, we had our executive board meeting on Thursday on the 30th. Same thing there. It's interesting on the OPEB stuff. We have to put $1.6 million of what we call retained earnings and stuff into that particular fund as well, because we're looking at basically in 2023, I believe the words were falling off the cliff, which means they would be underwater completely if they didn't start to put money aside.
Yeah. They've been putting that off for a long time.
Everybody has, everybody's using 2029 as a date. The state has been using 2023, so everybody has to, fit into the same mold and everything else, so.
I think we were one of the first ones to start to do anything.
We were early in municipalities, which was a good move by Mr. Sullivan. And I've got a SERPED meeting tomorrow. It's a monthly commissioners meeting. We'll be talking about the same audit and stuff like that. I actually looked at the financial statement, and they're underwater as of right now, even with putting money aside, which is really interesting. So that's it for me.
Okay. I don't really have much by way of liaison report. I would remind the board that the school budget hearing is tomorrow night, 7 o'clock over in the middle school auditorium. I certainly plan on going.
Have your questions ready?
Oh, there's the same questions every year, so it doesn't really matter. They're kind of etched in my memory. You want how much for what? Once again...
Last year, it didn't last 15 minutes, I think. It was over, right quick.
No, it didn't, and I think this year, there is a slightly different board to deal with. over there. I know that Mr. Sullivan has already been working with Kim Shaverhood, and especially the business manager, Michael McMillan, to try to let them know what funds are really available here. And, you know, everybody goes through the same exercise every year with their respective department heads, and for us, it's really the capital planning committee. They tell us we have $90 million in needs, and we say, that's nice, you're gonna have $1 million to play with. You know, the school does their all-day internal budget hearing,
That was fun.
where the principals come in and they have their wish lists, and we need this and we need that and the other thing, and then it gets honed down over there across the hall, and then they come back with a different presentation to us and the finance committee, and then that's usually somewhat beyond what we have the means to afford, and then, you know, sort of the negotiation begins, and the back and forth, and the this, that, and the other thing, and it's just a function of not having enough money for all of the different functions both the town and the schools would like to do.
We used
So-
to do it the same way, you know, with Derek. Derek, as he's changed it, he comes in with a reasonable budget right off the bat, where in the previous times, they used to come in with all the, you know, everything they wanted, and it would look like we had this huge deficit, which we do.
Right.
But it would have been way, way more inflated. And we used to do that, we just don't do that anymore.
Yeah, now we're whittling, you know, a certain amount as opposed to somebody coming in with $10 million more than what, you know, the various departments coming in with $10 million more than what the town has, and then that just pits people against each other.
Futilities.
Well, it pits the departments and against each other. It pits the town administrator against the schools, and it's just not a good way of doing things. So it's nice that as we go forward in time, we tend to get a little more realistic each time around, and I'm hoping this time I won't have to attend a single meeting to get this done. I'd be very pleased if somebody else did it. And I guess we'll just leave it at that. Going back to the agenda, we don't have any bills or documents, so now we can move on to the liquor renewals.
Yay,
Get those done. Well, I guess somebody's happy about that.
yay.
Yeah, that's the way to go on January 1st, Patrick. Happy days are here again.
What I'm gonna do is
Let's do it.
read one section at a time, and we're going to approve as they appear on the agenda. I'm not going to read the individual names unless there's a particular section where someone hasn't filled out paperwork. I'll make note of what the number is as they're listed, like in Roman numerals, from 1 going up to 12 and 1 whatever. I'll list the particular one if it's not in the group and the name of the business, and that'll be it. So the first one I have is renewal of following year-round packaged goods stores, all alcoholic beverages license for the year of 2018 under provision of Chapter 138 of Massachusetts General Laws. I have basically as approved on the agenda, except for number 6, which is the liquor locker in East Wareham.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve year-round retail packaged goods store all alcoholic beverages licenses for 2018 by Clerk Slavin, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, it passes 400 with the exception of items Roman numeral 6.
Next, I have renewal of the following year-round common victor all alcoholic beverage license for the year 2018 under provisions of Chapter 138 Massachusetts General Law as appearing on the agenda, no exceptions.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve year-round common vic all alcoholic beverages licenses for 2018 by Clerk Slavin, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, 400.
Next, renewal of the year-round common vicular wines and malt beverage license for the year 2018 and the provisions of Chapter 138 of Mass General Law as it appears on the agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve year-round common vic wine and malt beverage licenses for the year 2018 by Clerk Slavin, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, 400.
Next, renewal of the following year-round club all alcoholic beverage license for the year of 2018 under provisions of Chapter 138 of Massachusetts General Laws as it appears on the agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve club all alcoholic beverage licenses for the year 2018 by Clerk Slavin, seconded by Selectman Scasiotti. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, 400.
And we have renewal of the following year-round Veterans Club all alcoholic beverage license for the year 2018 under provisions of Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts General Laws as it appears on the agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve year-round Veterans Club all alcoholic beverages licenses for the year 2018 by Clerk Slavin, seconded by Selectman Scasiotti. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, 400.
And to approve the following application of year-round establishments to remain open until 2 a.m. on January 1st, 2018, for a New Year's Eve party to be held December 31st, 2017, under the provisions of Chapter 138 Mass General Laws. And I'll read this one. This is Stevie B's Inc., dealing business as Onset Sports Resort, 270 Onset Ave, Onset.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve the New Year's 2 a.m. party, I guess we'll call it, at Stevie B's in Onset, by Clerk Slavin, seconded by Selectman Scasiotti. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 400, and that covers the liquor licenses. Well, I guess we know what's up next.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Clerk Slavin, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 400. Wow, got done in an hour.
Good night, Wareham.
Thank you, everybody.
To sign all these.
Please, yep.
Have a good night.